So I remember a long time ago, in a house far, far away, I learned to play Risk. Well, learn might be a bit of a strong word. I'm still not 100% sure on the rules. It's probably simpler than I make it out to be, like when I try to explain or teach somebody how to play it. And that's just because I don't know how to play it. I remember one time, the first time I tried playing it, I thought, okay, well, since this person that I'm playing against has been playing it for years and I don't like losing, I'm going to sneak in a few extra pieces. And I snuck in a few extra pieces. And we played, and in the end, it did not do me any good whatsoever because I lost. And not only did I lose, I lost big. Like, the board was pretty much the color of my opponent. I had a few little areas, but they won. I think they won. They said they won, and the reasoning behind it was they won. Sword fights, I'm assuming, are kind of the same way. You have to know what you're doing in order to really win. Like, you can stack things in your favor, but unless you really are a competent swordsman, no amount of cheating or tricks or hababaloo or whatever will win you the day. The only difference is with a sword fight, unlike Risk, it's pretty easy and definite to tell if you won or not. One Piece Chapter 17, A Difference in Level, or The Difference in Level, is to me the latest chapter in the One Piece saga. One Piece saga? It's 20 years old, so I'm assuming there's multiple sagas. Epic? The One Piece Epic. And it's about the fight between Zoro and Cabaji. And it shows how the fight ended. So, the main focus of this chapter is Zoro versus Cabaji. And it starts off with, Cabaji saying something along the lines of, okay, well, so your wound is terrible. It's going to make a great excuse if you lose. And Zoro says, oh, no. If I lose with a wound just like this, because, it's not really that bad of a wound, quote, then I have an obvious fate. My future is set. I'm done. And so Cabaji, gets mad and he goes after Zoro, and it's one cheap trick after another. He throws a bunch of tops at him, which he says are poisonous, and he says there's 100, but he wasn't wearing sleeves, so I don't know where he kept them. Zoro knocks them aside, no problem. And then Cabaji does his acrobatic technique wall ride, which in real life, amazing and impressive, but in anime, meh. He leaps up in the air and he throws a bunch of, he calls it midsummer firecrackers, and I guess it's bright and flashy, and the climax of the technique is called direct stab, and all he does is he grabs his blade and aims it downwards, and he's going to fall onto Zoro. Zoro, instead of just stepping aside while he's falling, because you can't change your direction in mid-air, isn't able to, because Buggy uses his technique cannon, ground running cannon or something along the lines. I don't think it would have been cool if it was like the thing and it was just kind of like going like that, but no, he shoots it out like a regular cannon. And and he says, I'm going to hold on to Zoro and you stab him. Again, great teamwork in Buggy's crew. They get along great. They work together fine. This doesn't happen though because Luffy gets involved, which is only fair because Buggy got involved. And he stomps down on Buggy's hand and tells him, don't get involved, don't interfere with Zoro's fight. And so Cabaji says, that's fine, I can finish him off without any help. He's still falling while all that was going on. And so Zoro jumps aside and he tells Cabaji, I'm tired. Cabaji thinks, okay, blood loss. Not a stretch to say that Zoro's gonna faint and he's feeling weak because he has lost a lot of blood. And this isn't true. In response, for even, I guess, assuming that something like that would hold Zoro back, Zoro cuts off, or I think he destroys his unicycle. I don't know what happened, but Cabaji falls off the unicycle and he doesn't get back on it. So I'm assuming that Zoro cut it up. And Zoro tells him, I'm tired of fighting somebody without any actual skill. And Cabaji, he gets mad. He's like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll take you on with my real skills. He doesn't have any real skills. So the two rush at each other. and Zoro he defeats him with the same technique he would have used on Buggy, or he did use on Buggy. It's just Buggy can be cut up without ill effect. Before Cabaji falls, he says, defeated by a common thief. The greatest pirate defeated by a common thief. Zoro's like, I'm not a thief, but I am a pirate. And so Cabaji falls, and then Zoro tells Luffy, I'm going to go to sleep now. And Luffy's like, okay, that's fine. I'll finish the fight. So the chapter finishes off with a conversation between Buggy and Luffy. Luffy tells Buggy, hey, you have the map. Give it to me. I want to go to the Grand Line. And Buggy, he's like, well, what do you need the map for? It's a nameless pirate like you wouldn't survive there. What are you going to sightsee? You can't just go sightsee and look around. And Luffy, serious, tells him, I'm going to be the king of the pirates. Because Luffy's going to be the king of the pirates. And damn it, if he doesn't tell every single person he ever meets, he will be the king of the pirates. And Buggy makes this face. I don't know how to describe it, but it looks like everything just shut down for a second. Like everything processing just sort of clicked or tilted to the side, kind of like if you smacked the computer real hard while it was doing a complex equation. And then he gets mad. He's like, you are going to be the king of the pirates. You. If you're a king, I'm a god. Which is... why do people always say that? Like, you're constantly hearing king and then god. But the thing is, God, I know a lot of people think God's the strongest thing. But really, if you actually take history courses and you look up evolution and kin selection stuff, all God is a means that the king uses. So, a king is still higher than a god. In a way, a god is nothing more than a king's servant. Anyways, I digress. And then Buggy goes on a spew or a rant on his destiny being to have all the treasure in the world. Which is interesting. I mean, not interesting, but it's interesting because in an anime or manga about pirates, people who want treasure and wealth and fame and power traditionally want treasure the most. Yeah, being the scourge of the seas or having those kind of reputations a lot of pirates want, but it's treasure, and Buggy seems to be kind of the only one who's really, really going after the treasure. And so he's going while Buggy's ranting about him wanting everything in the world because he's a pirate and that's what pirates want. They want gold. Luffy tells him to shut up and he's being too loud. And then Buggy tells him to watch it, and he uses the phrase impudent fool again, which I thought was funny. That's his second catchphrase. The first one is die painfully, and then there's, you impudent fool. It loses its sting each time. And he tells him, you remind me of another impudent fool, a red-haired guy I knew a long time ago. And the last panel, it shows Luffy saying, you knew Shanks? Just that's where it ended because he didn't think anyone knew Shanks. Nami sort of annoyed me in this chapter, but I guess she's just like that. I don't know. The only real thing that she did worth noting was while Zoro and Cabaji were fighting and Zoro looked like he was going to die, she's like, hey, and she was nervous a little bit earlier in the chapter, but she tells Luffy, hey, I'm going to go and while everybody's still asleep, and I'm going to steal their treasure in the warehouse. But just so you know, Buggy probably still has the map. If you can get it, let's work together again. Okay, that I wouldn't have mind. If she just said that, fine. But she also tells Luffy right before she says she's going to go to the treasure and get it from the warehouse that whatever happens in that fight doesn't really matter to her. But she was so worried looking at Zoro. So I guess she's acting like she doesn't care. I don't know how honestly obsessed she is with gold, but I'm pretty sure she cares about Zoro because throughout the other chapters she was worried about him. So I guess Oda just threw that in there. It's like, she's only using them, but I don't. It didn't do it for me, but oh well. So then, what did we learn from this chapter? Well, I learned, or at least was reminded, because I keep learning. You can go a long way in pushing things in your favor. You can add extra pieces to the board. You can maybe mess with some of your opponent's pieces. You can bring in some muscle for a fight. You can do this. You can do that. You can just throw so much weight on your side of the scale. But if you honestly don't have a grasp of the basics of what you're trying to do or what you're competing at, there's a good chance you're going to fall flat on your face. And not only are you going to fall flat on your face, but you're going to fall flat on your face without anybody to blame but yourself. Nobody. You can't say, well, it's his fault or her fault. No. You cheated and you still lost. And Cabaji cheated and he still lost. He didn't focus on the basics. He just flare and poppers and wall riding, which is a pretty cool technique. Like, he could probably go far with being able to ride on walls, but he didn't know his basics, man. So here's my question to you guys. Have you ever tried cheating? Be it whatever, love, games, wars, fights, arguments, and you still lost, even though every conceivable thing outside of the basics would have said that you would have won? Or maybe the reverse. Were you ever in a situation where somebody was stacking the cards against you so badly that they should have come out, easy win, but like myself, they ended up falling flat on their face? Put it in the comments. I'd like to hear about it. This is LJH7E signing off.